My old survival mindset is chasing me to a place where I'm trying to work from pressure rather than peace. Okay. Life is asking me, now that I've begun building, what is pulling me back to what I used to be? The real moment came when I was upgrading the recipe card app this week. We've frozen all new apps, and the current sprint is about honoring what we've already built. So just pure development. And I'm not chasing new ideas right now, even though it's tempting. I was training the transformer model for the new API that we have for the recipe card app. So the API is recipe ingredient tagger. And this API is a new feature that will power the recipe card app. And because it was my first time stepping into machine learning, I was expecting this to be, I move quite quick and I train this model and then I go to my next project and, build. But instead, it took 2 days to train this model to think like a chef. 2 days of me watching it learn, and then I correct it, and then I adjust, and then repeat. I felt a bit of tension in the room, that feeling of being impatient, the atmosphere of being impatient started creeping back in. Two days that exposed a part of me that hates slow. The part of me that wants to drop everything and chase a new idea just because now these things are now getting difficult. That was the pull of my old self, the urge of me escaping the process instead of mastering it. Now I'm building and spending time on quadrant 2, where I'm developing on projects, managing family life. What is pulling me back is fear of not building new apps or new automation tools in my business. In my chapter, being in control of my old survival mindset is chasing me to a place where I'm trying to work from pressure rather than peace. If I don't get it perfect, then I assume that I don't deserve what I'm building. I felt old habits, old patterns, old fears this week because I had to spend more time in my old environment. There were temptations for me to go back to my old ways and shift the sprint back to a quick new app. But I stayed present. I stayed in control of my body. I stayed committed to the works of my hands. And that's where the fight happens. The old me who's trying to escape the process, and the new me willing to grow into it. When the model trained, I plugged it back from Jupyter and back to my local machine. And I plugged it back into the API. And immediately I could see how much this will change, and it will definitely help people who are using this recipe card app. This feature will help so many people. Developing early ideas are more powerful than starting fresh one. I'll never forget the moment when I realized I used to perform under pressure, but now I'm trying to learn to create from peace. And it's two different endpoints. From my experience, I can say that peace will always birth better creativity than pressure. Peace will birth better creativity than pressure could ever do. I am learning to protect the version of me that is emerging by refusing to let my environment dictate my identity. Even when things around me change, like location, pressure, routines, noise, I'm realizing that my spirit, my mind, and my character doesn't have to shift with it. The shift in character so that I don't sabotage what I've started building. It's becoming intentional with the atmosphere that I create for myself. Because if I don't shape the environment within me, the environment around me will try to push me back to who I used to be. So I stay present, grounded, and aware. I focus on this moment, this decision, the space the new me is trying to grow in. You can recognize that your old self is trying to return, and that's because it's human nature to drift back to what we are used to do. Familiarity is always the door, even though it will end up leading you backwards. I always say that I need to be like a farmer, and the farmer is always watching their seasons very carefully. They don't miss out on any season. And you realize that watching the seasons very carefully, you start to stay present, you start to stay disciplined. Like a farmer who watches the seasons very carefully, you realize that staying present, staying aware is what protects the harvest of you becoming. Life showed me that all patterns don't just slow me down, they also block the path that God has set for me. Most of these patterns are rooted in fear. Fear of falling, fear of wasting time, and that going back is safer than becoming. But something shifted in me when I realized I cannot build the next chapter with tools from the old chapter, especially if I'm using tools which are very weak. I have to be careful of what tools I'm using to build in the next chapter. The shortcuts that I used to take only give short wins, and these short wins, they never last. The new chapter requires discernment to understand what strengthens me, what weakens me, and what no longer belongs on my path. The moment I realize I'm going towards the right direction, or the moment when I realize I'm maturing, is when I realize that the long road is what is leading to character, and character is built in the long road. If I take the long road and I keep on going and I keep on pushing, that's where character is built. If I go on the other route where the short road is, that's where I end up losing my character. So my old patterns are loud, but they are not going to define me. My identity is not who I was, it's who God is shaping me to become. Becoming requires me to walk away from what limits me. Becoming is requiring for me to walk away from what once worked, and now that thing that worked is now limiting me. And any part of my journey when it feels slow, God is always there with me. I can leave the whole chapter behind because God is committed to the chapter in front of me. As you listen to this conversation between me and life, there is joy in taking ownership of the mind, the body, and the environment, and letting the Spirit lead you. I hope you feel strength and permission, and that becoming is not just for me, it's for you too. You're bigger than what is pulling you back to who you used to be. This tug of war is not unique. It's shared. We're always tempted to step back to what's familiar than stepping into what's new. This week I'm on Genesis 27-28. These two chapters anchor me because they show me where Jacob, old identity, the deceiver, the runner, the escape artist, that's when I saw how his old habits, how they controlled him. And even though the old version of him was breaking him down, God was already speaking to the man that he was becoming. Chapter 27, you see, it shows Jacob's old patterns. There's fear, there's deception, there's shortcuts. And then chapter 28, it shows new. It shows promised presence. It shows protection of purpose. God didn't want Jacob to perfect himself before calling him forward. He just showed him that I am with you wherever you go. Where in your week is your old self pulling you back from what you've already started building? Where is life asking you to stop returning back to who you've already outgrown? I'm just sharing this so that we can all grow together. This is Journal 9. Thank you for listening to this journal again today. There's a lot of stuff that I'm trying to not bring into my new chapter, into this season of becoming everything I am. And I'm trying to learn and continue growing as I become everything I am. So join me next week on Journal 10 as we see what steps, where we've gone with the recipe card up. Episode 2 will probably be out at that time, and we see how we continue growing to become everything I am. Remember to share this with another person who needs to join this journey of us becoming everything I am. Until next week, thank you very much.